Ladies and gentlemen, it's Monday morning. Means FootballScoop Staff is back in full effect. I'm Scott Russell. We got college football experts Zach Barnett, Doug Samuels, John Bryce. We're back in full strength. Hurricane could not take me down. It was not Beryl. It was Francine. It doesn't matter. You guys did a great job holding it together. Let's talk Week 3 football because it was another glorious weekend on the gridiron across the nation. I guess if you think about Week 3 football, you got to start with Georgia having a small heart attack until Mark Stoops said, punt it. You're like, wait, what? We're safe. He punted. What is he doing? Watching it in real time, like, dude, you got a chance to beat Georgia. Go for it. Get this. And then one, maybe two more first downs. They're out of timeouts. You kick your field goal, you win the game. Or you punt the ball. You still got to hold them. Use all your timeouts. And then you got to drive with no time. This doesn't make any sense. Mark Stoops stands behind his decision. I don't know. Gentlemen, John Bryce, it looks like you might have some thoughts on this one. What do you think there, buddy?
Yeah, you can't shrivel in the moment there, and I think that's what Mark Stoops did. Like, he played not to lose the game rather than playing to win the game right there. And I saw his comments post-game. I saw Zach's story on his comments post-game. I just wholeheartedly disagree. Like, you're not going to get excoriated for going for it and failing right there. You are going to be second guess to infinity and beyond if you punt it right there. And that's what he did. We're not the superior team, but you are in a position to have a chance to win against the superior team. So you take that opportunity. You don't literally punt that opportunity. And he punted on an opportunity to beat number one, which would have been Kentucky's first win against a top-ranked team since, drum roll, 2007 LSU.
Doug, I know you have some thoughts on this, but before I get to you, in my mind, it's 4th and 8. You're at the 47. You go for this because I think you convert and then you burn the clock down. You make your field goal. You win the game. Even if you don't convert, they get the ball to 47 or somewhere on Georgia's side of the ball. You still got a great shot of stopping them within 20 yards. They're not in field goal range anymore. They got a punt. So I saw you say on Twitter, Doug, that you were okay with the decision. What do you got as a football coach?
I literally was watching this play out, and there's 3:08 or something when that decision comes, and the thought that came through my head was, man, Zach's going to have a take on this. I literally thought that, and so I was thinking about this as it's happening, and you've got 3:08 left. He has all three timeouts. This is a different decision if it's a 42-41 football game. They've played great defense all game long. They have not been able to get – neither side's been able to get anything going offensively. So a 13-12 game, 4th and 7 seems like 4th and 23. Like 4th and 7 is a lot. When you can't move the football, when you can't put the ball in the end zone, 4th and 7 seems a lot longer than it actually is. So when you've got 3:08 left on the clock, you want to put your defense back out there. Punt the ball. You've got 3 timeouts plus the 2-minute warning, 2-minute timeout, whatever you want to say. You've got the rare instance where you've got 4 timeouts in your back pocket. Your defense has played great. Punt the ball, try and get a 3 and out. Now you can flip the field and take it over, let's say the 35 or something like that instead of back on the 20. So I was fine with the decision. I know that's not a popular opinion. But that's a different thought process if it's 42-41. It was a 13-12 football game, so it's a little bit.
So Zach, hang on.
What I'll say to that is when you put your defense in a situation where they have to get a 3 and out, you're in my opinion, you're setting them up to fail. I don't care what the score is, or the game. Forcing a defense to get a 3 and out against the number 1 team in the country, in my opinion, you're setting it. That's a big ask. And at the same time, in that situation, you're down by 1 point. If the score is 14-12, it's a little bit different to me. But it's 13-12. If Kentucky had thrown a ball and gotten sacked and then given up a touchdown to Georgia on the first play, suddenly the score's 20-12 and you get the ball back. That would have been better than what actually happened. What actually happened, they forced a punt, but it was worst case scenario because they got the ball at the 20-yard line with 9 seconds left. You have no chance to score that. Go for it. If you have a turnover, if you get sacked, Georgia gets the ball. If Georgia scores, then you have the ball. You can't win the game without the ball. So I think they would have been better off letting Georgia have the ball, kick a field goal, whatever. Just get the ball back quickly so that you can put a drive together and hopefully score and go to overtime.
So you're 4th and 8. You got a shot to convert. You're on the plus 47. You take your shot to convert. It's one play to try and win the game. I know you still have to matriculate a little bit more and make a field goal, but you got one shot. Doug, in your scenario, you got to hold them. You got to let them, you burn your timeouts. You got to hold them. You get the ball back way backed up. Say, best case, the 35. You still got to drive the whole damn length of the field with no timeouts. That's really hard. You have to convert one play. I take my shot with one play rather than then having to matriculate down the field. We get 50 yards. Boo. Sorry.
The one thing I'll add here is I don't know that I've ever seen a quarterback who's not short. Brock Vandagriff is 6'2". It seemed like a 50. I've never seen a quarterback get so many passes batted down. And I know he had a lot of rush in his face, but it was 50-50 shot for the end, whether his pass would even make it to the line of scrimmage. Given that, I still take my chances on one play to tilt the game significantly in my favor than punting the ball back to the number 1 team in the country.
Me too. All right, I got to turn the page. I can't talk about this one anymore because I just disagree with the decision. That's life. And that's why I'm not a talk show radio guy. Zach, we've talked about a scenario, and I say we, I mean Scott Russell has talked about it several times. There's a scenario, Quinn Ewers goes down, Arch comes in, and Arch leads them to the promised land. And we saw quite an opening for Arch Manning there in this game. Give me a situation. Quinn is out for what? Not too much. Arch looked pretty good.
The current thinking as of Monday morning is that Quinn will miss the ULM game and more than likely be back for Mississippi State. After that, they get an off week, and then you play Oklahoma, Georgia. So I'm going to try and offer some nuance to the Arch Manning discussion, which is a dangerous proposition. But here we go. Arch is more talented than Quinn. If we're looking 5-10 years down the road, I believe Arch will be a better quarterback than Quinn. Arch has more big play ability than Quinn. Having said that, I think despite the numbers, yesterday or Saturday showed that Quinn's a better quarterback than Arch at the moment. Arch put up big numbers. A lot of that was a 67-yard touchdown run that's not going to happen against a good defense. Sark was serving him up some layups, so to speak. But there, for a little bit there, Arch got a little bit exposed by his lack of experience. He was taking sacks he shouldn't have. UTSA had him on the ropes, which is to be expected. He's a redshirt freshman. Despite the Arch hysteria, Texas needs Quinn to play quarterback for them this season. And also, I'm glad you brought this up because whenever it's time for Arch to play quarterback, it is going to be so insane. Like they had his stats up there in the bottom line for like 3/4 of the game. It was Arch Manning stats. They take him down for like 10 seconds. They bring him back up. And I know they're trying to capture the audience of people that are flipping over, but I was like, we get it. He's in the game. It's going to be insane whenever he actually is the quarterback when he makes the NFL. Like the first take of Spear is going to be nuts.
Let me give you a better scenario. I know you said it's more likely than not Quinn Ewers misses ULM, right? And then you said Mississippi State's thereafter. You got to let Arch play against Mississippi State. Sit Quinn because then he's got to bye the next week. You got to let Arch play against Mississippi State. Come on, man.
Well, based off what we saw from Mississippi State on Saturday, I think the Bulldogs will allow both quarterbacks to get plenty of opportunity.
Fair. Turning the page. How about we talk? There's not much to say there. Ole Miss took care of business. Wake, he's upset with John Curry because Curry canceled the game. Not much else to talk there about there, right? Anyone?
No, but
Alabama?
I do believe on Ole Miss that Lane Kiffin just earned a $300,000 bonus for that win. I believe his contract stipulates that any 100,000, Doug, or
100,000. Yeah.
Okay, maybe they tweaked that. Anyway, he got a 6-figure bonus for going and shoving it against Dave Clawson and John Curry. Really cowardly move by John Curry to cancel the game as late as he did.
Fair. That is why contracts are written the way they are, though. Alabama went up to Camp Randall, and Kalen DeBoer can coach. Who knew? Just kidding. How about Oregon? Oregon State. I wouldn't say tight, but it was fun early, and then Oregon's offense and Oregon's defense clamped down, and Oregon started to look like they got that shot, boys. Oh,
I'm surprised you didn't go third person right there again to talk about Oregon. So, the Oregon played a half of football like we've expected Oregon to play all season long. Now let's see if the Ducks carry that forward.
Bill O'Brien's a football coach. We saw that, Tallahassee, that whole deal. Had Missouri on the ropes. Missouri fought back. Any thoughts on that one, gents?
Boston College has clearly improved with Bill O'Brien. He's proven so far to be a great hire. I still don't really know what either one of these teams are.
I would agree with you. Bill O'Brien coming in and just immediately putting a very good team, a very competitive team on the ball field makes me, not that I didn't already, but, all the – I'm not going to say who they are, but all the people who are like, Jeff Hafley's the best coach of all time. But Jeff Hafley's going to do amazing things at Boston College. Jeff Hafley's the next great NFL head coach.
Yeah, the freak out that happened when Jeff Hafley left his job at Boston College, we're going to look back and say that was a waste of energy for all of us. There was some sort of existential crisis for college football. It's suddenly, can we live in a world where Jeff Hafley's not the Boston College head coach? Can you imagine a scenario like that?
What I take out of this weekend is Missouri still getting by, still finding ways to win in one possession games, which was the entire story of their season in 2023 when they managed to win 11 games. So I think you have to give Missouri credit for that because it takes some fortitude and it takes some belief when you're time and time again in single possession games and you find a way to win. Also, B.O.B. looks like he could take Boston College to a bowl game in year one. That, to me, would make him ACC Coach of the Year.
Lot to be played out in the ACC, but
Not
I hear
Mike
what you're
Norvell?
saying. That was nice.
He might be the Conference USA Coach of the Year.
All right. How about the Vols hung $1 billion on Kent State, which, whatever.
Yeah, their schedule. So, I mean, they did beat the dog out of NC State, but so far they haven't played a schedule caliber of being the number one team in the country. But if you wanted to vote them as the number one team in the country based off what we've seen so far, I wouldn't argue with you. And they're going to try to score 100 this week. They're going to try in their power to score triple digits this week.
There is incredible animus this week between and a guy going back to his alma mater. I can't remember when there's been more disdain from a head coach going back to his alma mater than what is the undercurrent this week. You're exactly right. If Tennessee could score 71 again against the Sooners, it absolutely would. It will try to do so. This game opened up as maybe a slight pick'em or initially like a week ago, 10 days ago when they first put an early line out. It might have been even Oklahoma -2.5. The line has already swung all the way in the opposite pendulum to where I believe Tennessee now is about a touchdown favorite. It is the first, obviously, road test for the Vols because they played North Carolina State in Charlotte, so technically a neutral site game. But Vols fans dominated the stadium the way that Tennessee dominated the Wolfpack in that contest. But this is to me one of the most riveting Tennessee storylines in a really long time. I can't wait to see how Heupel handles it this week and in the media, what he does with this team. We're already reaching out to people in Knoxville, trying to get a feel for things on the ground on Rocky Top.
I'm going to try and find the clip for On the Line this week, but I can't remember if it was when he got the UCF job or the Tennessee job, but some reporter at his introductory press conference asked him, like, what does Bob Stoops say? Has Bob Stoops reached out and congratulated you? And Josh was like, I don't know. I haven't spoken to him. And it was just awkward silence. And just like, oh, okay. So that's the dynamic there. So looking forward to diving into this game.
Real quickly, I would just say that like it's sort of like the old joke about the NCAA. Like the NCAA was so pissed off at Kentucky basketball that they put Cleveland State on probation, and Bob Stoops was so pissed off at the Oklahoma defense he got rid of Josh Heupel.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's not just coming back and playing his alma mater. It's a place that fired him or parted ways with him. so now he gets to come back and get a possible taste for revenge, which is always sweet.
And the ultimate irony here is he's probably not the head coach of Tennessee today if he didn't get fired by
Right.
Bob Stoops.
But that's
10 years ago.
But here we are. Yeah.
LSU found a way. Part of that way was South Carolina's quarterback unfortunately got hurt at the end of the first half because South Carolina's offense looked better than I've seen South Carolina's offense in a long time in the first half against LSU. Just a fascinating back and forth game. A lot of conversation about officiating. LSU found a way. I don't know. Anybody else have any thoughts on that one?
I mean, so Scott, do we feel better or worse about LSU? Yeah, obviously, they won the game, but did you come away feeling about their actual performance as it relates to the next 9 games, given that they won but probably shouldn't have?
So before the season started, I don't know if you guys remember, I was talking about how LSU's a little thin up front on the defensive line, and you continue to see that.
Yeah.
They have very talented linebacking play, a little young, and they're starting to find the right way to play a couple of those guys. A couple of those guys wreak some havoc in the second half. I don't know they've nailed down the right scheme yet, and they're trying to not leave exposed some places where they are a little exposed. So they're trying to cover for some personnel issues that they're down on. The first half, South Carolina's ability in the first half to move the ball was jarring against LSU. That shouldn't happen. I still think Nussmeier is at his best when he's looking down the field and taking shots. And this year, for some reason, they haven't called a lot of that. And I'm not real sure why that is. I don't know. LSU's offensive line, especially in the first half, was not getting it done at all. A lot of questions, but they found a way to get the win. So, we'll see.
Yeah,
That's ultimately what matters.
For me, I watched that game pretty intently, and what stood out was, to your question, Zach, I feel better about LSU from an offensive standpoint because Gina still is doing some really nice things, even if they're not pushing the ball downfield as much. And I think probably that has to do with the absence of Brian Johnson and Malik Neighbors, among other factors. They're really good on the offensive line. They're probably trying to keep their defense off the field as much as it was on the field a year ago, especially with it being thinner. But then I also conversely feel better about the LSU offense, I continue to have really big questions about the LSU defense. And then also for South Carolina, they stole a game in a lot of ways the week before at Kentucky. And by that, I just mean they were the superior team. They outplayed Kentucky, but it was not a game they were expected to win. This weekend was one more that they really needed to steal, so to speak. They've got Akron coming in. That will absolutely be a dub. But then after that, they host Ole Miss and then have Alabama and Oklahoma on the road in back-to-back contests. So 4-0 going into that 3-game stretch is a hell of a lot different than 3-1, which is what I expect them to be.
All right, we're 18 minutes in. I want to go a little bit more quick hitter style. I'm going to finish out a couple of things, top 25, but then there's a lot of other games I want to touch on real fast. Miami blanked Ball State. Miami's getting things tuned up. Their schedule's not real challenging, right? Miami, they're going to keep climbing. Tulane, Oklahoma. Tulane didn't get off to the right start there, but it was in it. Bad pick. A couple things. Oklahoma.
Oklahoma fans aren't they're not jumping off the top of Gaylord Family Memorial Stadium after that one like they were against Houston. I don't think any Oklahoma people expect to beat Tennessee, but they also don't expect to get embarrassed against Tennessee like they did a week ago.
Notre Dame handled Purdue. JB, you were there. Any quick thoughts?
Yeah, just Notre Dame now has to prove it can handle prosperity, and it hasn't done that under Marcus Freeman for whatever reason across 3 years. That was the most points Notre Dame has ever scored against a power conference opponent, period, ever. And that was the single worst loss in the history of Purdue football, and they've had some losses. So that's significant. Notre Dame has Miami of Ohio coming in this week. We're still not going to know really anything about Notre Dame after this week. Miami is a feisty team. Chuck Martin has done a great job there, but they've backslid a little bit this year from what I expected out of them. And then a bigger game, if you look a little bit down the road, September 28th, they're hosting Louisville. That should be a game featuring 2 top 20 teams, and we'll have a better idea of Notre Dame's identity and Notre Dame's ability to or to not handle success.
Memphis went in Tallahassee and did what they needed to do. They beat FSU straight up. Memphis was number 1 ranked Group of 5 team in their own coaches poll, and I suspect they'll hold on to that ranking after that game.
Memphis controlled that game throughout. They outrushed them, they outpassed them, they won turnovers. Another odd coaching decision was Mike Norvell going for 2 to try to make a 2-score game. It was 20-3. Florida State scores to make it 20-9. He went for 2 to try to make it 20-11. I don't understand that, but he didn't get it. And so then the score was 20-12. And now suddenly if you just kicked your last gas drive, it would be 20-13. You could just kick a PAT and go to overtime. They would have had to go for 2 to go to overtime. I don't understand that decision at all by him.
Texas A&M went into the swamp. Billy Napier's team didn't look great.
Yeah, and it's Florida. You gotta couch that, but at the same time, it confirmed my suspicions that Connor Wegman's the most talented quarterback in A&M's quarterback room, but Marcel Reed appears to be the better fit for Colin Klein's offense. And I mean, they ran for 300 plus. Marcel Reed was a big part of that. Colin Klein's expertise has been the run game, and that's, if I'm Mike Elko, I'm having a hard conversation with my QB1. Like, look, dude, we're here to win, and we're running the ball really well. We need to continue to do that.
Yeah, Florida's a mess. It's really, like, I think we would probably all 4 agree Billy Napier is one of the really good dudes coaching in college football, and it's just not going to work out there. And the watch is on. It's like the Green Mile, walking the mile, boss. Like, it's not good in Gainesville.
Agreed.
Scott, you had the comment of the weekend in our Slack channel when Doug was talking about, hey, Florida has Mississippi State this week. That's a get-right game for them. And Scott shot back, well, Mississippi State's thinking the same thing.
Or an early Apple Cup this year, and Washington State with the big stop, and they beat Washington just as a couple of us picked. Thank you very much.
Great it's everything's coming up wazoo. I mean, the pound Texas Tech, Pac-12 is alive, and then you win the Apple Cup at a quasi-quote neutral site game. It's not really a neutral site game in Seattle. What a time to be a Cougar.
It's a 6-pack conference.
Yeah. What a time to be a Cougar. Incredible. How about Pitt coming back? Actually, I thought West Virginia might get him. I think a couple of you guys were on Pitt, and Narduzzi said they overcame the officials as well. Pretty cool. It was fun to see Pitt find a way and get that one done.
Shout out to Zach, who a week ago correctly assessed Cade Bell as an underrated hire at offensive coordinator. I think there were a lot of question marks about that. He had never coached at the FBS level or at a power conference level. And suddenly Pitt has an offense, and they're getting still some solid play on the D-line, and in the back end, they need a little bit more from their linebackers, in my opinion.
As much as Cade Bell deserves credit, the quarterback, Eli Holstein, when things were breaking down and he couldn't find an open dude, had just enough in the tank with his legs to go and extend plays and get first downs or pick up 8 yards or 4 yards here and there. He was really the unheralded story of that game.
The backyard brawl needs to be the Thursday night game to open every season.
Well, I mean, it's got to be national TV too. Yeah, there's just so much genuine. Yeah, and I love it. Mm-hmm. Vanderbilt was the talk of something. I don't know. And they were 2-0, and Georgia State handed it to them. Whew, buddy. That's some humble pie. Georgia State.
So disappointing for Vanderbilt. It's like similar to Notre Dame. You make all this progress back, or you and then you give all the goodwill that you earned by beating Virginia Tech, give it back by losing to Georgia State. In Vanderbilt, climb to 6 is incredibly steep. So you can't give away wins like that.
No, the honeymoon just ends a week early. Like they could this win, they could have felt good about themselves for another week and continued that honeymoon, but then they go at Missouri and then home against Alabama the next 2 weeks. So the honeymoon was ending, but it would have been a lot more fun ending 3-0 than 2-1.
Yep. Kenny Niumatalolo, 3-0, San Jose State's head coach. They played Kennesaw State, who is straight up not performing at all. That's a very, very, very disappointing team. Anyway, moving on. Kenny, nice start. Their schedule is about to get a little bit harder, but they're 3-0. It's pretty good. Tyson Helton's racking up points on points as he does. Beat Derek Mason pretty good. I'm moving right along. South Florida flexed on Southern Miss. South Florida is a legit team, as we all saw in Tuscaloosa. Good talk.
Yeah, they're a threat to win the AAC. Put them up there with Memphis and Tulane.
And they ran a fake field goal. Might have the fastest field goal kicker in the country too. That kid was burning.
Nice. Auburn needed to get right, and they got okay. They got a nice little dub. Toledo goes into the SEC country and planted a flag and said, "Hey, teams like this are taking our players. We're just letting you know you can win it right here, baby." Good job for Jason Candle, and I'm proud he said that. I think it was awesome.
I hope that he said more cowbell. That's all. I hope Jason Candle said more cowbell.
I mean, Mississippi State been pushed around on the line of scrimmage by Arizona State and by Toledo. What's going to happen in the ultimate line of scrimmage league for that team?
Yeah, that's not good. I'm not sure you guys are familiar. UCLA is a university that's in Los Angeles.
Is that where it is?
Indiana knew where it was, and whoo, buddy, Indiana was not polite. Kurt Signetti. Let's go, baby. Let's see what you got.
Yeah.
Signetti's undefeated, boys.
If I had any votes in who to be ranked, I might put the Hoosiers at 25, and then their next 3 games against Charlotte and Maryland at home, and then on the road at Northwestern before a big tilt against Nebraska. That could be Kurt Signetti's going to be a lot of fun the next few weeks.
He's always a lot of fun, to be honest.
When you got Signetti and the Hoosiers, buckle your dang chin strap because they're going to rock you right in the jaw.
I love it. I love it. I love it. There's a guy named Deion Sanders. I'm not sure y'all are familiar with him. Coaches at Colorado now. He's a former NFL player. Pretty good guy. Played baseball.
Is that the guy from the Aflac commercials?
Yeah, you've seen him on TV. You're right, that guy. He's the head coach at Colorado. They had their in-state rival, Colorado State, and Prime's team took care of their business.
Colorado State accomplished something very difficult to do in college football, and they made Colorado look sympathetic. Colorado State was talking all sorts of noise. Their mouths were writing checks that their play could not cash, and they just looked like buffoons.
Yeah, that was.
I have nothing else to say. Yes.
I thought it would be a better game. I thought it would be a better game as Colorado State hosted Colorado on its campus for the first time in 28 years, for the first time ever, then obviously in its new stadium, and it was just a flatliner. So kudos to Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. If Colorado can find a few more wins on its schedule, Travis Hunter should be the top Heisman candidate right now.
Speaking of better game, Gus Malzahn at Sonny Dykes, UCF TCU, heck of a ball game. And Gus's guys, it was just grit and determination. A fascinating ending to that one. A really fun game, to be honest. And Gus's guys emerged 3-0.
Yeah, TCU had the chance to break UCF's heart after TCU had just broken their heart, but couldn't make the game-ending field goal. And I mean, this Big 12 season is going to be incredibly topsy-turvy. So to steal a win like that is enormous for UCF. And one of the analytics guys that I follow currently has UCF as the most likely team to win the Big 12. We'll see if that holds. But hey, we're in the middle of September and UCF's on top.
Gentlemen, we have 3 weeks in the books. College football is the best thing there is in this country to watch. Any closing thoughts on week 3 as we turn the page to week 4? Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Shout out to UNLV. That was an entertaining game against Kansas. They held the ball for 9-minute drive, a couple 4th downs they converted. UNLV's 3-0, 2-0 in Big 12 play. That's a fun team to watch. And I think Barry Odom might legit be the best UNLV coach in history. That's not a program with proud history. I know they had John Robinson coach there at the end of his days, but I mean, we might be living through the best period of UNLV football we've ever seen.
Bold statement. It's a little early in that, but okay.
Is it enough to get them to the Pac-7 or Pac-6? Is it enough? I'd love to see it.
For me, it's K-State. Had really struggled to barely beat Tulane, and then really got righteous against Arizona on that Friday night game, and looked really good in the process. So that's probably the team that impressed me the most overall out of this third weekend of college football.
Week 4 is going to be one of those sneaky good weeks. Tennessee, Oklahoma is going to be a lot of eyeballs in that one. I think it has potential to be fireworks on fireworks and get lopsided, which would be even more fun. We are fortunate to be able to cover this great game and help these coaches. And gentlemen, I appreciate everybody taking the time. Let's get to work, and everybody have a great week. Oh, with that said, before we go, we had a new guy win picks this week. Zach Barnett comes out of nowhere with a strong week, 11-4. The rest of us were just a few steps behind, but 11-4, nice week, Zach. Let's see if you can keep it rolling, and we'll go from here.
I can't. Football Scoop Man of the Year is it's in my grasp, and there's nothing more in my life than I want to win that honor. So we'll keep it going.
You think it's in your grasp after week 3? We've got to talk.
Long way to go. Gentlemen, everybody have a great week. We'll see y'all soon. Bye-bye.